Hey fellas, it's been a long time, maybe a bit longer than usual, so I figured I'd go over a few quick things, few very important things real quick. If you don't really care about that, and I don't blame you one bit, you can skip to the timestamp right here. If you choose to stick around, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. First off, wow. I honestly cannot believe that this channel hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. This was like my dream back when I made this channel about 5 years ago. After so much time, so many different YouTube channels, you guys wouldn't believe. I have finally achieved this incredible goal, and it's all because so many of you guys were so generous as to stick around, and I am just so incredibly grateful, and I want to thank you guys, each and every one of you, so much for this amazing opportunity. I do have a special video on my favorite movie coming out really soon. You guys are going to love it. Stay tuned for that. Godzilla vs. Hedorah was the first Godzilla I remember watching. Before I learned how to use Internet Explorer and do crime, I could only get access to Godzilla movies through my local library. This film, with this hilarious cover, was the very first Kaiju movie I laid my eyes upon. Godzilla looks like a toy here, and I can't believe how badly Hedorah is superimposed here. This whole cover just screams graphic design expertise. Okay, so point is, this movie is a little, what's it called? Oh yeah, traumatizing. The fact that I stuck with the franchise at all after bearing witness to this is beyond me.
Godzillaが一番好きかい? Superman だもん. Hi.
This movie is obscenely surreal and a complete acid trip. Dare should have just shown this to schools and nobody would have touched drugs or alcohol for the rest of their lives. I still live in perpetual terror. Some of the events behind the scenes are just as bizarre as the film itself. My favorite example is where the suit actor for Hedorah, Kenpachiro Satsuma, suffered appendicitis during filming. Things got even worse as the crew weren't able to get him out of the suit fast enough. Doctors actually had to cut a hole into the suit in order to carry out the operation. On top of all that, Satsuma found out that day that painkillers had no effect on him. While this movie is as traumatizing and bizarre as it is, this really worked to its benefit, believe it or not. Everyone who has seen this film would be hard-pressed to forget it. How could you? This film came out in the very awkward phase of the series where it couldn't decide whether to appeal to an older audience or a younger audience, and in the process of this horrible dilemma, managed to alienate everyone. But this happened to such an extreme, the movie became memorable to anyone. If you want my opinion, honestly, this is exactly why I think this film is kinda great. It's so unbelievably bizarre, but at the same time, it is completely unique to the franchise. There's no experience like it in this entire series, and despite really not being that great from a more objective standpoint, this movie is just a blast in its own right. This was the only Godzilla film that Yoshimitsu Banno directed, and despite the reception of the movie, he wanted nothing more than to make a sequel. He believed in his concept, especially Hedorah, more than I believe in water. This man tried 5 separate times to get a sequel, or spiritual sequel, to this movie he made. He was so confident, in fact, he left this tease at the end of Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Yet, the sequel never happened, despite coming so close so many times. Unfortunately, there aren't many details on most of these projects. Godzilla vs. Hedorah 2 was supposed to take place in Africa, and next to nothing is known about the others, or much more about Godzilla vs. Hedorah 2 for that matter. However, what if I was to tell you that one of these attempts became the legendary Godzilla films we all know and have arguments about on Twitter. Yoshimitsu Banno was the driving force behind a movie called Godzilla 3D to the Max. This project went through development hell all the way from 2003 to 2009. The film was designed to be made in 3D IMAX format and was targeted at an American audience. Remember that particular detail for later. This film started life as Godzilla vs. Deathla to the max and went through various title changes. Deathla was particularly interesting as the antagonist kaiju of the movie. Deathla was a very obvious reiteration of Hedorah, sporting many of the same abilities and features. Godzilla was even supposed to give chase to the creature by flying, just like he did in the 1971 film. By far, the most bizarre aspect of this project was its references to the 9/11 tragedy. Godzilla was supposed to consciously defend the 9/11 monument in New York from Deathla in the climax of the movie. Keep in mind, this began production only 2 years after this event. More than likely not meant in bad taste, but certainly a poor choice. With the later title changes came many revisions, including more 9/11 references, an ultra spin-tail punch from Godzilla, and eventually all 9/11 references taken out. The film went through massive swings in budget and runtime until eventually the project was dropped. After all the crazy ideas, ups and downs, and spiritual sequels alike, this film directly led to Legendary receiving the rights to Godzilla, and Banno was credited as an executive producer on all the Monsterverse Godzilla films. A few ideas from Godzilla 3D were retained, even. For example, Godzilla chasing a flying creature across the world, and the idea of sticking to low, realistic camera angles. Unfortunately, Banno passed away on May 7th, 2017. He was given a special tribute alongside fellow kaiju legend Haruo Nakajima in the end credits of Godzilla King of the Monsters. I believe Banno's story is one that everyone should take to heart. Despite all the criticism directed at his work, he believed in that idea and in himself to the end. He made bold decisions and stuck with them, and that is something entirely inspiring to me. Creativity is something that should be done and expressed for yourself, not necessarily to meet the expectations of others. This is a lesson I have to learn myself with this YouTube channel. Honestly, the reason I don't upload enough is because I'm often unsatisfied with my creative work and tend to constantly compare myself to the past work of myself and the work of others. Banno is a great example of the proper motivations for creativity. Doing something just because you want to,